if you look at the median income over that same period of time, for example, I came here today with 15 graphs, and that just, your tech people, as wonderful as they are, just almost physically impossible to...
Overwhelmed with the data.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we had to choose five, you know, what I call like fundamental graphs. But the point being, if you compare, and I'm going to just try and maybe do this with my hand, salaries in 2000, or median income and household income in the year, I think it was 1977 to 2000, or 2000 to 2007, over a 7-year period, people at the end of 2007, now this was just the period which represented the prelude to the economic downturn or crash, they were actually making less money in real terms than they were 7 years earlier. Yet, if you look at the spending that was going on, it looks almost like somebody launched a rocket. It was going straight up. If you look at the savings rate over that same period of time, it was declining. Saving, what does saving mean? It means I get a paycheck and take so much out and put it in an account, a rainy day account, right? And I spend the rest. Our rainy day accounts peaked in 1982 and just crescendoed. I guess that's the right word. They just steadily came down. So we had less income, we had less savings, but look at the chart on spending, still going to the moon. Where was that coming from? Somebody was making credit available. Again, we got the mysterious pushers of levers who manage, you know, economic digits, and they were creating credit instruments and relaxing the terms all the time. And in fact, you know, a famous joke, I'm sure you heard it, that all you had to do was fog up a mirror, you know, prove that you were alive and you had access to a loan. Well, imagine that kind of spending, and the only word I can say is like monumental, but that level of spending and finance so much with credit, and then to have the rug pulled out, right, to have credit dry up, everything collapses.
I want to say this before we go to your slides. You mentioned earlier about not wanting people to perceive themselves as failures. That is just, to me, just so important, because one of the things that is happening, not only do we have leadership that is not coming clean, that is not telling us everything or enough of everything for us to be able to make wise decisions, but we are also deceiving each other.
Yes. Yes.
Because the ego says that if you are not able to find a job, that there is something wrong with you.
Exactly.
If you are not able to keep a job, there is something wrong with you. If you're not able to keep your house or your car, if you're not able to maintain your standard of living that you and your friends have maintained over a given period of time, there's something wrong with you. Well, there's something wrong with all of us, and what is wrong with all of us is that we are not sitting down with each other, and we are not saying, I'm about to go into foreclosure.
Yes.
I have lost my job. I don't know how I'm going to buy food. I don't know how I'm going to keep utilities on. I don't know where I'm going to get money to put gas in the car to go out and look for a job. I don't know how I'm going to the dentist. I don't know how I'm going to take my child to the doctor. We are not sharing with each other that we are in dire straits, and that some of us who are very, very optimistic about prospects that are, down the road in this recovery. I've been told by one of my relatives who's in real estate about how the the value of real estate is going to begin to ascend again rather than spiraling downward in its decline.
Does that person work in real estate?
That person works in real estate, and that person, now, you
That's
know,
why we don't have bankers on your show, because they're going to say the same thing. Is there jobs at stake? I didn't mean to interrupt, but go ahead.
I want you to interrupt.
You can't have a banker come on your program and talk about the economy, because if they told you what they were seeing, if they told you about the delinquencies, if they told you about the examiners coming into their bank and looking at their loan portfolios and seeing them under so much stress, if they told you about all the instructions, the mandates they were given to revamp their credit policy, if they told you what was really happening within their own respective financial institutions, they lose their job. You cannot, I don't know what is this aspect about business when you cannot go before the people and tell the truth, and that's killing us. It's killing us because I don't believe they're being honest, which is why I didn't want to come on your show and make bold assertions like that. If you recall, we had a conversation, Dr. Peace, and I said we must present evidence that's irrefutable, that no one can argue with. So you don't think I'm up here, I've got some axe to grind with bankers or real estate people or whatever, but they're all fighting for their lives too. They really are. Matter of fact, if people can't pay back mortgages, and I know people who are still living in their homes and haven't paid their mortgages in over a year or so. I'm sure we all know people like that. And there's a huge pipeline of foreclosures, and a lot of the spending that's taking place, well, if you have some income and you're not paying your mortgage but able to stay in your house, then you could feed your family. You can maybe buy a car. You can, enroll your child in a private school or whatever. But that's because you're not paying the mortgage. So, but one day you're looking at this can't go on forever. This is only a temporary phenomenon. Eventually, I'm going to lose my house unless I can find a job. And they take a job, and like I said before, it's not nearly generating the earnings that they had from their previous job. So we're all living on less and less, and it's not getting better. If there was some real hope, you see it in the numbers, but again, our president gets on TV and says, we created 117,000 jobs, and in the last 9 months we've had job creation in every month. What the President of the United States is not telling you is that the rate of growth in the population means you've got to have at least 150,000 jobs or so on average in order to just stay current as new people come into the workforce. In order to absorb that growth, you've got to have that. Instead, what we had for the July, this is August, the July unemployment numbers, it showed people leaving, no longer looking for work. They've given up. You look at one of the charts I think we're going to show tonight, looks at the duration of unemployment. What I'm saying is how long people have been out of work and unable to find a job and thus enter the economy again in a manner that makes them self-sufficient. Well, the chart is off the hook. It's the highest, I'll have to look at that chart again to see what span of years they cover.
We have a chart to look at now.
That looks like it. I'll be darned. Your technicians are they are on the case. I believe that is a chart of the called the average duration of unemployment, and this goes back to all the way. This is a post-war World War II period. Let's say mid-40s up to 2010.
Goodness.
If you see that chart, you look at the far right-hand side. That's the length of time people have been out of work for right now. And the president, of course.
This is in terms of weeks, where you started with less than 10 weeks in 1950, and now you over 40 weeks.
You see how quick
in 2010.
That's right. This downturn takes the cake. Matter of fact, the only thing that comes close to this downturn, and you've heard people say this, it's the worst economy since the Depression. They don't want to call it the Great Depression, but they use another term. They use it the Great Recession.